Hey everybody, this is Zach Westy,
And Mr. Zones.
and today we're going to do a audio commentary for What Not to Do when Aliens Invade. So this was the first episode of Out of Nowhere.
That I had no actual part in making.
Yeah, I made it by myself. I made it sometime before the pandemic. I was still up in my apartment in Esterville.
Sounds good. I'll look into it. My name is Zach.
So Busty's there in the background.
Yeah. Just watering the flowers.
Yep, there she does.
To put it simply, when someone claims they've seen an alien, it's my job to go and check out.
So essentially, for this series,
I
we had worked in the movies before, and I wanted to take those old ideas that we had. The series that we had worked on was really convoluted and kind of just thrown together.
Yeah, we basically just threw everything up against the wall to see if it would work.
Yeah, and so I sort of had been sitting there thinking for a couple of years, man, if I were to remake that series with the characters that we had, what plots would come up, and that's where this first episode came from. You can kind of notice there that the scrolling background isn't there working in that upper left corner.
How often does it loop, I wonder?
It loops pretty quickly.
It's speeding up.
Yeah, because that's a speeding up scene. So, should we get into what the movies is?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, fair enough. So the movies is a game that came out in 2004, which allows you to make a bunch of, movies using a bunch of pre-made scenes. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I would like to say that it's more along the lines of a movie producer simulator kind of game. It's like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but for a movie studio lot.
Yeah, not to cut you off, but the person that's playing the character here is my good friend Jordan K, who runs a Twitch channel. It was really cool of him to provide his voice for her. I just called him up and said, hey, I need someone to just do a voice for me because I don't have enough unique voices for this beginning.
And he's never done anything with us with this before.
Correct. Yeah, he just kind of did it out of the blue, and it was really cool of him. So if you can, go check out Jordan K Games because big fans of him. So
Tell me, does anyone
tell him we sent you.
History of mental illnesses?
No.
Do you yourself have a history of alcohol or drug abuse?
So originally, in a bizarre way, I kind of wrote Zach Westy to be a lot more sassy than he is in this episode.
And then I adopted that role.
Yeah, and then Greg is kind of adopting that role now. But
how could you? Because you're not.
Yeah, because
to begin with.
and this is the only sassiness that is really stuck in the script because there was 3 deleted scenes where one is where Zach has road rage as they're heading off to the city. It just got cut just due to time,
right,
and things like that. And it was just kind of weird to have this sort of not serious moment in the middle of a chase scene. And there's the introduction of Zeta, who at this point was still just in the script as fat gray alien, because that's what he was in the original series.
Right, and you wanted him to be effectively the main villain.
Yes, yeah. Well, I didn't necessarily know what I was going to do for the series. That's the main thing too. Was I wanted to design this series to be I would make a new episode every other 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was going to call you up, say, hey, if you want to help me out with an episode this week, here's the lines and stuff, send them in. If you're not available, maybe Jordan's available, so his character is focused in this one. And,
I'm surprised that worked.
Yeah.
Just crossing his arms.
Yeah, he
Very
just
happy
pantomimed.
about that.
189.
So that 189 is my birthday date, which is the month and the day times together to get 189.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
and wait for some government agents to come.
Oh, 7 times 27, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And then
Get the alien to a secure location and then await for further instructions.
yeah. So this was another scene where like Zach was like super sassy because he was like really like hammering into the guy on the phone. He's like, well, look, man, I'm just trying to be like, making sure that we're having clear directions here. Well, this is why you can never keep a date, man, or something like that. And it's like, and he hung up on me. Fucking coward. Like, hung up.
I should probably mention that anytime you see their arms are in like a weird position, like they're holding something, it's because that is the way it is for that character to hold something in the scene, and we can just remove the item that they're holding, but we can't stop them from looking like they're holding something.
So I just want to mention in that jail scene with like the ticking in the background, that was just in the scene. I did not add that in where he's sitting there saying, "Let's wait."
Yeah, I think there's like a clock or something on one of the walls that's not seen, but is there in the ambiance.
Yeah. And now we have Shovelhead, who's a pretty main character.
Well, I work for the government.
It was so way back in the original series, Zach and Shovelhead actually had the same voice because they didn't necessarily interact with each other. And then I wanted to bring like Shovelhead into our sort of like friend group. So I had to come up with a voice for Shovelhead, and I started with
and it's my job to investigate
the Joker voice that I had done, where it's like, wow, isn't this interesting? But then I made it a bit more like cheery and upbeat, and that's how I got Shovelhead.
Oh, dude, are you serious? That is amazing.
Every time. I don't know why. That just gets me.
Fair enough.
Because it's like he's the one that called the government.
Yeah.
How many aliens live?
Well, maybe he didn't know he was going to get the government.
Every individual who comes to this town. Enough questions.
So there was a line there where Zach goes like, "Fair enough," but I just cut it because it was just out of place.
So is that why it was? Is that why it like clipped?
Yeah.
I mean, I just wasn't. I'm just messing with you. I'm an alien on a foreign planet. I don't care what you think.
A lot of people like that
My
line.
husband. How are you doing today, Charles? Oh, just hopping along.
So this is Charles, which were like the two oldest characters that we have in this series.
Hey,
Yeah, I would agree.
Don't steal from the cash register. I'll have to break your
Because they showed
legs.
up like way early on in that previous project that we had.
Give him some space, Charles. So is he an alien too? Oh, Charles.
You really like this bit.
I love this bit.
What is he? He's the best. You are not answering my question.
Yeah, that's mainly just me just not wanting to say one way or the other. Is Charles an alien? Is Charles just a man in a rabbit suit? It's just funnier to me.
Yeah.
Dragons in the corn.
So going back to...
No, seriously, what do you call it?
Yeah, it's called Dragons in the Corn, and Red Hill Saloon is in the background there.
Yep.
Didn't realize that. So I wrote this scene specifically for Mr. Zones here, who this is a scene that's like line for line from our original series,
All the way up until the end.
yeah, except until they go fucking Dragons in the Corn,
Dragons in the corn.
because that was to show that we're really like going a bit more balls to the walls in this series.
Yeah, we definitely didn't hold back in terms of profanity and everything. We didn't like go out of our way to make people cuss or anything.
Yeah.
We just didn't censor
Stop
ourselves.
Yeah, which is what we would do in the previous series.
Mm-hmm.
Yourself. Ah, shoot. I just remembered I attacked an alien because I
So going back to Zeta, now that he's being mentioned again, yeah, Zeta was going to be like I actually was originally planning for Zeta to sort of like join the group because like I said, it was going to be like a bi-weekly show.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, like whatever season 1 would have always ended with like an alien invasion, which we can probably get into more as we get into other episodes about it.
Right.
But
When the other aliens get involved.
yeah. But that's him
should
pulling
be
out a
over
gun.
there.
Should be over there in the jail cell. Very, very natural movement there. So, yeah, it was always planned for like the Zeta Reticulans to be like the original bad guys. That would be like the aliens that invade our planet
Reticulans are pillagers. They conquer planets to steal
in the season 1 finale, but I came up with the Remtahayans like way after this episode, which causes a bit of an issue because I set up a joke that never got resolved, which is the Zeta Etarian line, because
that's fair, but at the same time, I don't think it's too big of a deal.
Yeah, because that was supposed to be like why Zeta would turn on his brethren, because he's supposed to be like a fatter Zeta Reticulan, which is like common of like the Zeta Etarians.
Oh, okay.
And then, but he like constantly gets made fun of because he's bigger.
Right.
And then he's going to be like, it's like, I taught Stubble guys, I'm going to go with them now. And then like, that's how they would win, is having him on their side. And that was like me just drafting it up in my head back when I first wrote this. Back in like 2019.
Yeah.
That's convenient.
Quick, we have to destabilize the graviton.
That dude was wearing your tuxedo.
And how do we do that?
So in this episode, I really tried really hard to like make sure that the background characters, the extras.
Yeah, make sure that it was populated.
Yeah, I really wanted to focus on that.
So that way the alien didn't
blow up a city with nobody in it.
Yeah, blow up an abandoned city.
Right, and I wanted to make sure that like when they were walking, like if you follow them, they sort of like that guy in the tuxedo is like walking up to them, and then like as Shovelhead is talking, he'll like walk behind him as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like also make that feel, because obviously these scenes are like not set like one after the other. They're like a bunch of like moments like stitched together.
Yeah.
But I tried to like,
I mean, and that's just the nature of the game itself.
Right.
Is the advanced script editor, which is the only reason we were able to make these movies, because the game itself is just a regular like tycoon kind of thing. But after you get a certain ways into the game, you get something called advanced script editor, where you can start making your own movies to produce and try and make them better than the ones that would automatically be produced at the beginning of the game to just try and make you money.
Yeah.
And so you could put the scenes together, put everyone in costume however you want, and even add your own voice to it in post-production.
Yeah, it is really too bad that this game did not come out like in 2007, 2008.
It really was ahead of its time.
Yeah, because it had like a upload to like some online service that isn't available as of when we were making this, making the original series back in 2012.
YouTube is pretty much the only like home where you could watch these anymore, because I've seen a few people make them elsewhere. Yeah. But they added mods in a lot of the ones that I watched.
Yeah.
Because they have like copyrighted Marvel character costumes.
Oh yeah.
Dutch angle.
Oh, thank goodness I was able to find you. Are you all right? What happened?
So I was watching a lot of Red vs. Blue, and like specifically listening to the audio commentaries, and they were saying how like Tucker, one of the characters in Red vs. Blue, would throughout all of season 4, they were like, how many times do you think he said, "Ugh, what happened?" when starting a scene there, Jason, the guy who played Tucker. So I wrote that in there as like a reference to Red vs. Blue.
Okay.
Been able to disable his navigation.
Well, I mean, your character has a habit for getting knocked on his ass regardless.
Yeah. And then it randomly became a trait of my character. Because we might be able to discuss this in a different episode, but like I said, I never planned for the 7 episodes that we did. I planned to do this like bi-weekly.
Right.
But then, like I said, we'll get into more depth about this in later episodes, but I pitched this idea to start to continue.
Well, my job was to investigate
and they really, the guy who ran it, a guy by the name of Metz, he really liked it, and he was like, yeah, I want this to be a series, but I want like all the episodes up front so that then we can just release them one after the other. And I was like, okay, cool. So then we just sat down, started writing some of the episodes. The pandemic hits, brought everything to a halt. And then we then made the rest of them, and
throughout all of 2020, we finished making the series, and then kind of finished up a little bit in the beginning of 2021, and then was able to release it with that channel for a couple months.
And then we sort of like no hard feelings between parties. We just kind of figured that West Zone and Start to Continue were aiming for different audiences, so we just sort of like separated them.
Yep.
And no hard feelings there. Like no one's mad. Like we're happy for them. And this is the first episode.
This was a mistake.
Ain't that the truth? Oh man. So that is episode 1. I forgot about the credits.
In future episodes, they make more sense.
Yeah, written by, produced by, directed by, edited by. You guessed it, Zach Westy.
Did I tell you to put in the you guessed it part? Yeah, I thought.
And then it's starring Zach Westy as Zach Westy, and then like the only person that isn't there is the Jordan K Games, and made in the stupid movie Sense and Effects. Special thanks to Zach Westy.
Yeah. And even though this game wasn't super famous or anything, it had its own expansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always wondered if there was going to be more expansions, but the movies just never got popular, unfortunately.
And what's weird is it didn't even really feel like much of an expansion in the fact that it felt more crucial to the game in and of itself. Because it added a few like stages and things, but it added these stunts and effects, which is very crucial for a lot of movies.
It also added in a bunch of like what's the term? I feel bad as a game designer. Like blanking on the term, like makes the game better.
Quality of life
stuff?
Yeah,
quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it added do you remember editing in the movies before stunts and effects? Or anytime you'd like cut a scene with the audio, like the entire like audio would like shove together to like match how much you would cut out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so you'd have to like restart with like all the dialogue and everything.
Yeah, we also weren't able to manipulate the camera.
No, we weren't.
We had to go with whatever the scene gave us.
Yeah. I've been thinking about like doing this in like a separate video of like behind the scenes of making things in the movies, but So to wrap up, as we're well after the episode, I actually hated this episode when I first completed it. Like when I first I don't know what it was, but like when I first completed it, I just remembered thinking like, wow, this is terrible. And I put it up on my personal channel and showed it to my roommate at the time, who doesn't necessarily like how the movies looks. And he sort of had like a feeling to it, which is kind of like what I was feeling about it. And I sent it to you, and you loved it.
Yeah, especially in comparison to all the stuff that we had made previous. I was like, this is by far the best we've done in the movies.
Yeah. And then after I sent it to you, I sent it to Metz, and he loved it. He sent it to like all of his mods, and they loved it. And everyone I showed it to just like really enjoys this series, and it began messing with me for a little bit later, because I was like, they're all just saying this to be nice. But I don't know. I've kind of grown to like episode 1. I still think that it's the worst one in the series, but
it doesn't mean it's a bad episode.
Yeah, it's not a bad episode.
Yeah.
I think my sister put it best, where it's like it's a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely gets better as it goes.
Yeah, so stick around for more.
See you around.